What's going to happen beyond SBY? I think it's anybody's game. But here's a few factors to consider. Anybody that wants to run for president has to be supported by any party or a group of parties that would have garnered at least 20% of the votes. There is likely to be about 170 million voters who are qualified next year, of which probably about 20 to 25 million people will be new voters entering the system. These are the new 17-year-olds who will not be reading newspapers. They'll be using their gadgets to read whatever sports, whatever business, whatever technology news they want to read about, they want to know about. These are the Selena Gomez's and the Justin Biebers of Indonesia. Now, I think they will help shape the political process of Indonesia. And most of these 170 million people are likely to be female and youthful. And a good chunk of these are Javanese. Around 60% of the 170 million people will be Javanese. And 70% of the police and 70% of the military are Javanese. These are factors and facts for your consideration. The paradigm of millions that can vote, I think, ought to change to the paradigm of the millions that we can choose from. And that's important for the new generation of Indonesia. I think in an ideal world, the leader or the future leader of Indonesia is one, she or he, who understands how to package economic prosperity with equity, pluralism, democratization, and all the governance-related stuff bundled in one package. Thank you. I've just earned my coffee. And she or he is somebody who can actually project that bundle in a nice way onto the international community. She or he is somebody who can make sure that this gets understood the right way by the international community. But as with politics, anything is possible, and things usually don't work out in accordance to how you want them to work. And that's the reality that we've got to live with. And I think some of that is attributable to the degree to which we were educated, which is why I think in the long term, and it's important for Indonesians to increasingly capture, embrace, and get the right long-term picture. One can expect an increase in political activities in Indonesia. It's actually started. And it's started to get really busy, in terms of political activities. And busy political activities are usually good for the media guys. And it's also good for the economy. And you can anticipate an uptick in economic activities in Indonesia. The key for Indonesia's democratization, as some might coin it, democracy 2.0. And it's really about game-changing the governance. And this is entirely possible if one looks at our fiscal space, which can be used for a more targeted approach in terms of enhancing our human resource development. We've got to think about attaining 150 to 200,000 PhDs in the next 15 to 20 years. And the corresponding numbers of masters, bachelors, polytechnics, and plumbers. And we've got to make sure that all these numbers are in sync with our long-term industrialization plan so that it gels and it does the right thing for the people. And we've got to make sure that we get more protein and nutrition into the kids that enter the kindergartens, the elementary schools, the primary schools, and all that good stuff. And we've got to make sure that all these plumbers, technicians, engineers, and thinkers have the right tactical and strategic plan for Indonesia in the next 10 to 20 years. We've got to make sure that we need to further technocratize the bureaucracy. I think there ought to be fewer, if not less, political party presence in the bureaucracy. I've gotten a good taste of that in the last 3 years. And this, I think, will help us in stamping out corruption, and this will improve governance at every level with well-defined parameters that are in sync with the global paradigm. We need to make sure that there's further fiscal decentralization, using the right carrot and stick measures in view of a more investment-centric paradigm, particularly for soft and hard infrastructure. We probably need to simplify the political process. Did you know that every 5 years we have around 500 elections? That's 2 in a week. Yeah, it's good for the media. We've got to make sure that a bunch of these elections take place in one go. So at least you have some pause for weeks, if not months, to think and to do things. This, I think, will help Indonesia. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, the geopolitical and economic constructs are evolving, ever-changing. There's flashpoints in the Korean Peninsula, Strait of Hormuz, the South China Sea, Syria, Palestine, and all these other places that we've got to worry about. There is continuing stagnation in the European economies. There is an improving economy in the US. There is a deceleration in China's economy. This has and will affect the lives of billions on this planet. A prolonged global economic slump poses a risk on our democratic institutions and values. And I think this is a reality that we've got to deal with. I think Indonesia has done okay, considering the circumstances that we've gone through. The future is really up to us. Many of us are quite clear-headed. That is, we've got to Gangnam ourselves. Actually, allow me to change it. We've got to Garuda ourselves. And I think we've got a chance to make it happen if we get the long-term picture. Thank you all for the opportunity. Good night.